Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Awakening Potential Show. It's your gateway to the extraordinary. I'm your host, Karen Rudolph, and I'm here to support you in stepping into your sassy confidence, your classy wisdom, and your bold, badassy brilliance. Because awakening your potential isn't just a moment, it's a movement. Here we dive into powerful stories, soul stirring tools, and game changing strategies that spark transformation, excuse me, in your life, in your work, and in your world around you. So grab a notebook, open your heart, and let's light that inner spark. Today, I'm excited to introduce a guest who embodies this journey on a whole nother level, and I just so adore her. Angela Yousey. Get that right? I have to, forgive me. Angela is a wife, a mother of six sons. God bless. She's a best-selling author, registered nurse for over 35 years, and alongside her husband, she spent more than 25 years coaching couples, helping them restore intimacy, rebuild trust, reignite passion through biblical principles. Love that. As co pastors of the Spirit of Love Ministries, her mission is to show that no one is too broken for God to heal. I love that. Angela, welcome to the Awakening Potential Show. It's so great to have you here.
It's great to be here with you, Karen.
I know we've been talking like back and forth for a bit, and attempting to get on the same line has just been life, right? Life happens. Uh, I always like to start back in time before it took you up to what you're doing today and all the greatness that you're putting out there in the world. Like, who were you as a child? And what'd you play with? And does it relate to what you're doing now?
Oh, interesting question. Yes, I feel like everything in life happens from childhood, from birth, to prepare you for purpose. And one of those pivotal points in my life was when my mother and father divorced, and my mother was having an affair with the next door neighbor. And he would creep over in the evening when my dad was at work, and I was just in the second grade, but I knew something that about it was not right. And finally, when everything came out, my dad was standing. We had a split level house, and he was standing up in the second floor, um, and he was in the kitchen, and my mother was standing at the front door because he had called the police to have her removed from the house. And I was standing at the landing, so the split level. I'm looking at him to my left. I'm looking at her down to my at the front door, and the whole time I'm thinking to myself, this is so wrong, but who do I go with? And my dad he's the innocent one, and my mother is the guilty one, but she's the weaker one, and she's going to need me. And I'm in the second grade trying to figure this out. And it was odd because they let me decide where I wanted to be. Do I want to go with her? Do I want to stay here with you? My dad, and I was a daddy's girl. And it was strange because I stood there and I pondered, where do I go? Who do I stay with? So I ended up going with my mother. And I just remember sitting in the back seat of that police cruiser, burying my face in that fake leather seat and bawling my eyes out. And I said, in the second grade, no child should ever have to experience this. When I grow up, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure nobody experiences this pain.
Mm.
And it's so interesting because I had no idea what I was saying and how it would really walk me right into my purpose, which is helping marriages.
I love that because I had the same experience. I was
Mhm.
13 and my parents got divorced, similar experience.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I remember being in court in front of the judge, and it was like, who do you want? And I'm looking at my mother with these like big alligator tears, and I'm looking at my father as if to go, pick me, pick me. And I was so brokenhearted because I was a daddy's girl as well. And it was heartbreaking. And it was the hardest decision I ever had to make as a child. And I hadn't thought about it. So thank you for bringing that up because I'm sure that had something to do with what I'm doing today. As I know it's had something to do with what I'm doing today as well. Very wow. Never any coincidences, right? Uh,
What's interesting about it is, the way people internalize it is determines the outcome.
Exactly.
I internalized it as this is my lot in life that I have to walk through.
Yeah.
And it keeps you from becoming a bitter person. It keeps you actually chasing the purpose. Because if you understand why you have to go through what you have to go through, then it helps you to not get bitter towards other people, not be angry through life. You actually see it as an opportunity, a stepping stone. So I don't know. All my life, I just knew that this was a part of the call for me.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Wow. So from there, you grew up, right? And you got into nursing. Long time nurse. Yeah, I also got into nursing, right? We have all these commonalities. Love that, right? I chose to release it because I was an empath. I am an empath. I've learned to deal with my empath, but I was taking it all home with me. And it got to a point where it was way too much. And then when I moved down to Florida from New York, raised my family. So I had that blessing, but so many lessons have come out of nursing for me. What have you found for yourself?
Oh, so many things. Well, let's just back up a little bit. Before nursing, um, I was, of course, in college, and I met Mr. I thought was Mr. Perfect. And I got married. We got married at 19. And by 19, 21, 22, um, I came home from church and he came home from work. I always got home at 11:45. And he began to tell me, if I ever left you, I would leave you with this and this and this and this, and I would take good care of you. And I thought, where is this conversation coming from?
Right.
And well, on Tuesday, the night before, I don't know if you believe in fasting or not, but I believe in fasting and praying. And I had gone on a fast, and when he heard about the fast, he almost got nervous. And so he came home at 11:45, and I had finished the fast. I went to church. My pastor prayed over me and said that the Lord was going to prepare my heart for what it is that I have to go through next in life. And I was excited because I'm thinking it's going to be something so awesome, for God to give me a word like that. Well, he came home that next day on that Wednesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday when I finished the fast. On Wednesday, he came home, and 11:45, he discussed with me if I ever left you this and this and this. And I said, where is this coming from? Well, on that Tuesday, I had this odd dream, and I was standing in my kitchen holding my son, who was 2, and I was on the phone with my best friend Connie. And I told my best friend Connie about this dream in real life. And she said, where was your husband? I said, oh, Connie, it's a dream. Why are we getting deep with this?
Right.
On that Wednesday, he came home, had that conversation. That dream flooded my heart so heavy. And
Mm,
I said, oh my gosh, the dream. And he says, what are you talking about, the dream? He said, I'm going to go to Walmart and get something to drink. He said, I want something different. And he left. It's now after midnight. And I'm still in nursing school. And I looked out the window, and there was 2 women sitting in a little blue car, and he was going to meet with them. And it hit me. And I came back in the house, and I was holding my son, and I'm thinking, oh my God, who do I call? I'm just like so heartbroken over this. And I picked up the phone, and I was standing there holding that phone, and I just stopped dead in my tracks, because I realized I was reenacting this whole dream. And I'm holding my son, I'm holding the phone, I'm calling my best friend Connie. She shows up, my pastor shows up, my dad shows up. But excuse me, in the midst of all of that, that whole night, I prayed and I said, God, I know that this is part of what I have to go through, because you're preparing me for purpose. And I know that all things truly do work together for the good. And so I just totally just embrace the pain, allow it to do whatever it needed to do to get me beyond that, so that I can learn what I need to learn and get where I need to get, so that I can help as many people as I can help. And so, of course, I'm in nursing school. I'm in my last semester. And I just thought, oh man, I got to get this figured out, because I just can't struggle through life financially. That can't be part of my life. And so, but my mother was dying of breast cancer. I'm going through a divorce. I just got a job in Columbus, Ohio. So I'm leaving my small town of Lima, and trying to move here. And I have a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old child, and I'm going to a city I have no relatives, nothing. And I'm only 24 years now, 23 years old. And so, but I did it and I came over. God just opened up so many doors. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do, but I knew that here's where I'm trying to go with all this. In the journey to purpose, it's not easy. You're going to have so many obstacles, so many the minute you try to pursue purpose, you're going to meet resistance and everything. I mean, trying to pass boards, trying to learn new roadway, babysitters, everything was brand new. New career in nursing is hard to, adjust with all these things and but I just kept saying, well, God, you remind yourself of all the things that the Lord has gotten you through. Then why would he leave me now? And I would remind myself, it's like, well, you got me through my childhood. I know that was part of my lot in life. You helped me through college. He completely made a way supernaturally and paid for my entire nursing without this smart, academic scholarship. But my dad worked at General Motors and they wanted to help uh, some minorities, and I happen to be, I fit the mold. So they paid for first semester, you keep your GPA up to 3, you will give you another semester, and it went on for 4 years. So I reminded myself, well, God, you did all of these things along the way in my journey. Why would you leave me now? So that's how people have to look at life and know that you can turn it all around and use it for good. And so many people need whatever you're going through. Somebody needs to know you made it, and that means I can too.
Oh, it's so interesting, Angela, because, even though they're different, they're so similar. I remember I have horses down here in Florida, and I remember my former had an affair as well. And I remember I didn't have the courage or the wherewithal to say, I'm leaving, right? Because I had three small, small children. And the thing that kept coming to my mind is, I'm not going to get mail. It's the craziest thoughts that will fill your mind. But I
So
remember
true.
being in the barn and I was shoveling the stall and over my shoulder and praying and saying, God, dear God, I know you put me on this path and I know there's something, there's something bigger and better out there for me, but I don't have the courage to do that. Show me the way. And literally, I found out that's when I found out he was having an affair. And I went, done. I'm not doing that. I am not doing this. And I have daughters. And I said, I am not going to be that role model for my children. And I don't know how it happened, but I just stepped up. It put me on the way. I remember taking a course. I started getting into personal growth and development, and um, because I thought it was outside of myself.
Mhm.
And it was like God reminded me, no, it's within. But I had to go through, I studied world religion. I did everything like he's doing this. And I remember there's three fingers coming back at me. And it was so fascinating, the journey, because it was laid open for me when I asked. And yeah, yeah, I'm grateful for it. It was sad going through it. It was not easy. And life is never easy, right? Unless we make it easier for ourselves and trust. And I think the biggest thing from lesson for me, and I don't know what it's been for you, but learning to surrender.
Oh, yeah. That is everything. And understanding that it's grace that you have what you have and you are who you are. So that helps you not to point fingers at other people. It's like, you're not the hot stuff. It's because of the grace of God that he has given us freely. And
Yes.
so that helps you to stay humble and realize that, you could have took a whole different turn. You could have went a whole different path and it could have ended a whole different way. So I'm
Right.
forever grateful. But one interesting thing about this whole journey, I knew even way back when that the Lord had his hand on me to help marriages. And so when my marriage dissolved, I was confused. And I said, okay, God, I don't quite understand, if because even my first husband and I, he totally was on board with, let's do it. All of a sudden now he's gone. I'm confused. Now what now, God? And so sometimes the journey that we think is going to go this certain path, God will say, no, we're going to go this way, but we're going to still get you there. And so it was when I moved to here to Columbus, my pastor and my spiritual mother and my spiritual father, I went to see them because I was the children's pastor church, the children's ministry leader at the time. And I went to see them once a month, every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month. And I walked in. I really didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in Columbus, in Lima at all. I wanted to just be away from all of it. And so my heart was not there. But it was shortly after the affair and exposure and all the different women. And I'm in a small town, you hear about it now. Everything comes out, everybody knows what's happening, but And so I was at that stage of my life. And I went to meet with them on that Tuesday, and I got there at noon, and I knocked on the door, and the assistant pastor is my lady, and I noticed she had really big bags under her eyes, and I thought, oh, she must be getting sick or getting a cold or something. And she said, Angie, she said, you see my eyes? I said, yeah, you getting sick? Are you okay? And she said, oh, yeah. She said, I've been up and I've been praying for you all night. And she says, I get all these years later, I still get emotional about this, but
Yes, absolutely.
she said, I saw you in a vision. And she said, everything that the enemy has stolen from you, she said, the Lord said he's going to restore it to you.
Mm.
She said, don't worry about what you see. And she said, in your family structure, she said, I don't understand what it means. But she said, but the Lord says, don't date, don't look. When you meet him, you will know him. And she said, the ministry that the Lord told you you would do, you will do it. And I could not even have the meeting with them. I was just, I said, can I just, we can reschedule or whatever. I left there and I went to Walmart, got a for sale sign, because I had I had gotten the house and everything. The judge gave me everything. And so I put a for sale sign in the window on my own. And I just thought, I'm just going to try it. I'm 23 years old, but hey, I'm going to try it.
God
I
bless.
put a for sale sign in the window and it was sold like in seconds, it felt like. So I moved here to Columbus and a struggle bus all the way, finding the babysitter, learning the big city, getting on this big interstate, and but I did it. And so a year in, I go to church and I told my son, because I was working 12-hour nights and or 12-hour day shift from 7 a to 7 p. So church, we had this big conference. It was like 8,000 people that showed up for this big conference. And I told my son, I said, well, we're going to get there late because I don't get off work until 7:30, had to pick him up and then, get to church. I said, I need for you to be really good. Now he's only 3. I said, if you are, I would take you to Cracker Barrel for dinner. And so he said, okay, mommy. And he put his thumb in his mouth as we're walking into the church. And I get in there and I said to the usher, are there any seats? Shaking my head because I'm expecting a no, because it was overflow and people were standing out. Well, he thought that I had left to take him to the restroom and I was coming back in. So he assumed I had a seat. Nobody else was being allowed back in the building. 8,000 people now. And I said, you don't have any seats? He said, oh, you don't have a seat? He said, well, if you hold the baby, that man looks like he's leaving. You can just sit up there at the top of the risers. And I said, just get me in the building. I literally, Miss Karen, walked up all the way to the top part of the balcony, the very last row. I climb in. Now, remember the promise I made to my son, Cracker Barrel, if you're good. So I go in the seat that the usher thought he was giving me was a little boy. And I said to the man sitting next to him, I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, the usher thought the seat was free. And he says, oh, it's okay. If we set the boys on the floor, you can have the seat. I said, are you sure? Yeah. They can just play, whispering through church. And so I set my son on the floor with his son, who looked to be the same age. And as soon as I sat down and opened my Bible, I heard that little boy say to my son, he says, hi, my name is Michael. I'm your new best friend, but we have to be good tonight because my daddy said if I'm good, he'll take me to Cracker Barrel after church. And I thought, what? I couldn't make the story up for nothing. I said, what? And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm looking at this guy, and one of the things my pastor said was that our family structure would not be a normal family structure. She said, but when you see it, you would know it. And then she said, I don't know what that means, but you will know. And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's white. That's what this means. Oh my gosh. So I'm kind of studying him, to look into the side, but I'm totally not into the service now because I'm trying to piece this all together. And I'm trying to make sense. Is this it, God? Because I'm searching now. And so we get out after church, we go down the risers way down, and then we're on the landing. And that same little boy, Michael, he puts his arms around my son like this, and he says, Daddy, my best friend and I, we were good tonight. And you said, if I'm good, we'll go to Cracker Barrel. And his mommy's taking him to Cracker Barrel too. So we're going together. And he totally set the date up for us.
I love it.
We go to Cracker Barrel, and my husband, who's instantly goes right deep in there, and he says, you ever been hurt before? I said, oh, everybody's been hurt before. And he says, well, I've been hurt before. My wife she was having an affair, and I climbed the 3 stories out on the outside of the building over the balconies to see her doing what she's going to do, because I needed to just accept it and move on. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And it hit me. And we are talking, he's hitting everything. Because I told God, I said, God, if I ever marry again, it has to be somebody who knows my hurts, because I can't do this again. And I mean, everything about him was exactly what I had gone through. And so we've discovered through everybody inviting us to different parties and birthday parties, we put them in school, they were in the same classroom. God was like setting these dates up, because I was not pursuing and he was scared to pursue, but we really liked each other. And then there was a race thing, we had to think about how does that look, and are we really ready for that?
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, a year in, we discovered we really like each other, and everything we want to do in life, it seems to be the same. So here we are, we got married, and we brought these boys together. Now there's 6 of them. It's just, I mean, it's just amazing just to sit across a couple and to help them walk them through life, or when I work with women, or when we're working with just families as a whole. It's just so many. Family is everything. If you don't have that structure and your business, you can have a great business, no family, but what are you doing it for? So it's really it's been an honor to really to know God this way, and to be able to share this love to really just to people.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful story. I'm so happy for you. And I love the way synchronicity, right? Never any coincidences in my world for sure. One of the things I really had myself, since we've had a very similar thing, is to free myself, step into forgiveness, not only forgiveness of him, but forgiveness of her. And as soon as I did that, it was like my whole world, it was like the door opened and I just went, whoa. What was your experience? Have when you obviously, I'm asserting, I don't want to assume anything, but I'm asserting you also stepped into a level of forgiveness. What was that like for you? And especially the listening audience who is going through whatever challenges they're going through. How would that serve? How might that serve?
Yeah, that is a big part of everything, especially when it comes down to relationships and broken relationships.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I did was, when I discovered that he was having an affair. So there's 2 parts to this. When I discovered that my ex-husband was having an affair, I remember doing laundry and finding all these long hairs and things where, it wasn't coming from me. And so I kept questioning, and he kept convincing me it's because, no, I went to the gym and I took a shower at the gym and all these things. And then, when I discovered that it was a woman who had long hair, then, oh, it all made sense. Now I'm angry at anybody who looked like her. I'm angry at anybody who reminded me of her. And so what I did was, I knew that I could not allow that to fester, because it's like yeast. You just let it sit there and it's just going to expand. And I was determined I couldn't allow it to expand in my heart, because I know that it's going to disrupt what God wants for me.
Mhm.
And in the end, I'm actually hurting myself, not hurting him. He's moving on. He's enjoying life. Why am I going to hold that and hurt myself? So I remember going to the mall, and it was a big giant square ottoman in the middle of the mall. And I sat there for hours trying to work on myself. And anybody who remotely reminded me of her, I would talk. They must have thought it was a nut, because looking back on it, I really felt like a nut. But I would engage them, and I would be friendly to them, just to tell myself, you don't have to be angry at him and anybody and everybody in the world because of something that happened, which was a one-time incident. So I just made myself work on me and love on people no matter what I saw, because I just couldn't allow that to really to destroy what God is doing for me. And a lot of people sit in that pocket and stay angry forever, and you never fulfill your purpose. Never. Because God cannot use you if we're holding on to unforgiveness, because unforgiveness is the worst form of pride. What you're
Yes.
saying is, I'm going to hold them accountable. I'm not going to let them go because I'm going to teach them a lesson. And who are we to do these things? We have to trust that somebody greater than us can do this for us, because the word says, the vengeance is mine, says the Lord. We don't have to do anything. You reap what you sow anyway. And so I kept trying to figure out, when we were coaching these couples, and why is it? Because we had a couple that we were coaching. She had been married to her husband for 35 years. Now, we weren't even married. We were probably married 15 at the time, but here we are, because people see the unity in our relationship. I don't care how many years you've been married, they want it. It's like, just tell me how to get it. And so we were just blessed that, we went through all the things we went through with our exes, but we still are doing the work with each other and helping each other. And so these couples come in, and this woman, she said he had an affair. And I said, okay, so what are you saying? She said, I just can't let it go.
Mm.
And I thought, all those years, and she cannot let it go. And I kept trying to, we were talking through them, talking through the whole process, and trying to figure out how to help them. And then I said, I got to figure this out, God. Show me, what is it that keeps people from letting go of unforgiveness? And when he revealed to me that it's pride, I thought, that's it. We're holding on because we think we're going to teach them a lesson. We're going to hurt them because they hurt us. And all we're doing is hurting ourselves. And once I helped her to realize what she was doing, I said, God can't even do anything. He's like, okay, you got this. When we let go, and you said it at the beginning, that surrender, when we truly surrender to him, well, I mean, you just see it. You saw it. The doors open up, the forgiveness, the love flows back in. I mean, that root of bitterness taken out of your heart. Now you've got room for God to pour in and to plant new seed. Oh, it's a game changer.
It certainly is. It certainly is. So now you have six children, six sons, no less, right? And you're nurturing this incredibly strong relationship in this marriage, which is beautiful. I'm so thrilled for you. So, how, again, supporting those who are listening, how, getting back to love and
Mhm.
keeping it strong
Mhm.
and keeping all of that other stuff out of it. What's your advice?
Oh, wow. Keeping it strong for us is, first of all, we always made sure that we were taking care of each other first. A lot of people get it upside down. They want to take care of the kids, their work, the church, all the things that we're doing, and then neglect the relationship between each other. And we always maintain, and my husband, this is what he used to tell our six sons: she's first my wife and then your mother. And so we always maintain to make sure we keep unity between us first, because if we don't have that, the kids are going to come between us. We're going to be resentful towards them. They're going to be resentful towards us. Everything hinges on our unity with each other. It was a challenge, with six sons, and not only six sons, but we're talking about his, hers, and ours. So we had, the one son that connected with my son. And then when he split, she was pregnant with another child, and we weren't quite sure who the father was, for him. And so,
Right.
but we knew she was a drug addict, and we didn't want that for him. So she called out of the blue and said, hey, I want to know if you would take my other son. I'm trying to get clean. And I had never laid eyes on her. She lived in Arizona, but she had enough strength in her to call me and ask me that. And it was a quick yes, we will come and get him. I still never went out to visit her, and never met her. My husband and my mother-in-law went out and picked him up and brought him back. So now I just get married. We have my son, his son. We get pregnant 3 months after we got married, and then we get this another child. So all within 1 year, I went from 1 to 4 children. Talk about a challenge. And there was many days I used to say, did I do the right thing here? Because these little boys were something.
They were.
A lot. And remember, we're not even 25 years old yet. So for two young people to take on such a huge challenge, and then of course, then we had two more after that together. But in all of it, we always made sure that my husband was great because I still had the hurts. And people say you don't take those into your next relationship, but you do, and somebody's got to deal with them. And he was willing, and because he teaches this, I always call him, he's a love doctor, because he really understood the power of love. And he tells these young men, love your wife, just love them and just keep loving and don't worry about what you're getting back. It's working because love never fails. But he said, it doesn't always feel like it. He said, it took me 7 years to get my wife to the place where she is now. And I didn't even know that I couldn't love him. He would get me flowers and cards, and I look at him like, okay, thanks. I didn't even know how to respond. Never saw it. Never felt that before. And so he said, well, I thought you would be a little more excited. I said, I'm sorry. And so I would pray with him, Lord, help me to give him what he needs emotionally. I don't know what it is inside of me, but help me. And he would pray with me and pray over that. A lot of couples at that point, they get angry at each other, like, I'm just going to go find somebody who can appreciate this, instead of putting in the work to find out what is it in the root in your heart that's keeping you from being able to accept the love. And so that's what he was able to do. And it's just been a wonderful journey. And I cannot, even with all the struggles that we've gone through, I would absolutely, hands down, pick him all over again.
Beautiful. Does he have a brother?
But you don't want him.
Oh, hey, you got to find humor in life, right? So, you've made it a passion to really support women in particular with your purpose. Tell us a little more about that. And
Well, one of the things that came to mind instantly when you mentioned that is a lot of women carry, we all carry a lot. I mean, we're just the one that we're the nurturers. We want to make sure everybody else is okay. When I work with women, usually they come to me because they don't know how to take care of themselves first. And I absolutely love to help people to refocus on, you have to take care of you first. What are you going to give out if you don't have anything to give because you're depleted? Literally, women, my phone rings all day. And I'm okay. I'm totally okay with that. In fact, I love it, and I'm honored because they trust me to help steer them in the right direction. But there are times when I would say, okay, I can't talk to you right now because I need to go and get filled up myself. That means I need to go get in my prayer closet, get in my word, take my breaks, fuel up for myself, and now I can give something back out. Well, we should treat ourselves like that every single day. Every single day. Take care of you first. And it kind of reminds me of when you get on the plane and they tell you the spill about, if the plane goes down and the oxygen drops. Yeah. You first take care of yourself first, and then you can, because how are you going to give oxygen to anybody else, to breathe life into anybody else when you don't have oxygen and life in yourself first? So I always tell women, do that. And it's really wonderful because I was working with a young lady, and she came to me, and it was just a casual conversation. And to open it ended up being her entire session. But she was angry at her son's girlfriend because she was trying to get a hold of the son, and the girlfriend wouldn't give her the phone numbers to reach the son. And so she was like, and I can't believe she had the nerve to do that. I'm writing her off and all these things. I said, now, wait a minute, wait. I said, so you're making you and your son's issue now dragging in this young lady and making it her problem now. I said, what if that young lady is in this relationship? You can't get a hold of this son. Maybe there's something going on bad in his mind. Maybe he's mistreating her. What if you're the only lifeline for her? And so once I got her to refocus on really, making sure you take care of you, and then making sure you check on other women first before we start. It was just such a beautiful experience to help her to refocus. And it turned out the young lady was actually being abused by her son, And she
Mm.
was able to get her out of that situation and get her back to California with her mother. And so I always say, just make sure you always really just pay attention to yourself first and then try to help other people. So
Yeah.
we need to be free so that we can help free others.
I love that. I love that. And I don't want to skip over before we move on. I don't want to skip over having faith in marriage. And you were talking about, you first and obviously then your husband and your children and such. But um, tell us a little bit more about faith in marriage
When you mean faith in marriage, you mean?
and why it's so important to
Oh,
have faith in marriage. I'm
oh,
sorry.
yes. Oh my gosh, it's everything. Your faith is your foundation. And if you don't have a good foundation, I often wonder how in the world do people make it in these relationships without their faith? I mean, I rely on it so heavily that and my family knows now if I come in the house and maybe I'm grumpy when I walk in the door and my family's here and and I'll just tell them, I need to just give me a minute. Let me just go refocus. And I'll just go, they know my prayer closet is my room. I'm going up to my prayer closet just for a moment, go up there, get recentered with God because now I'm positioned. It's kind of like the pendulum, where you see the center and you just get off just a little bit or go a little bit to the left or the right, getting back centered with him because marriage is God's institution. He's the one who created it. Why in the world are we going to try to do any of it without his advice and his guidance? So my faith is, okay, God, what is it? How do I minister to my family today? And I first need to make sure I'm at peace with him and at peace with myself before I can be at peace with my family. It just doesn't work. And now here's the thing. With me and my family, remember, we're a blended family. And my ex-husband he was a drug addict. My husband's ex-wife was a drug addict. You don't just get kids that come out perfect. You're going to deal with that. You're going to either deal with it now or you're going to deal with it later, or they're going to deal with it later and their wives are going to deal with it. So we had that whole dynamics of looking at, I look at them and I'm thinking, oh my God, who is this person? And this is the effects of the broken home, the broken marriage, the drug addiction, the trauma of them constantly being moved from home to home and man to man. And, all of those things you have to deal with. Can you imagine 6 of that in our home and trying to maintain a good relationship in all of that? I mean, you better have a faith. You better have, there are times when literally I would tell my husband, I don't like any of these kids right now. And instead of him getting angry, he could say, but these are my kids. You married me. This is what he could have said any of those things, but he understood that I'm just hurting too. And I need some help. I'm struggling here. And he would take my hand and we would just literally would just stop and say, God, this hurts. My wife is hurt. I understand what she's saying. Can you help us, teach us how to get through this? Show us what we need to do, how to handle. Because of the words and his faith in operation, it completely healed me and delivered me and caused me to trust that I can be real with him. It's okay to say exactly how I feel, that this just really sucks right now. And when I would say those things and he would pray us through, man, I just thought, oh, he really loves me for me to say all these awful things about his kids and all our kids together. And yet he still was there to hold my hand through it all. Yeah, it's your faith is everything. And if you have 2 people with faith, now you got power. I mean, there's absolutely nothing you cannot conquer. And let me tell you, we've been through some hell. And I don't even want to paint a picture of that. This has been easy or perfect. It has absolutely not. We've had financial problems. We've had, with the kids, just, daughter-in-laws, and you bring in more people and grandchildren, all the things that come with life. We've dealt with it, but we know how to deal with it. It always say, even in the workplace, it doesn't matter who you work with. It doesn't matter what you do, it's who you do it with. And, we can get through anything as long as we're willing to do it together.
I love that. So what I'm hearing in all of that, and again, I don't want to assume anything, but life is challenging as are relationships. So I get that it's been a roller coaster for you as well. Do you center yourself by getting back to what attracted you in the first place?
Oh, 100%. You always, you always lean on your purpose. And once you know your purpose, man, you're knowing your purpose is the most powerful thing in life because it drives everything. And you understand where all those pieces of the puzzles fit. It's like when you're sitting in there doing a puzzle and you're trying to make it fit here. It's like, no, just hold off. You set it aside. We'll come back to that. It'll fit later. Then you understand all the life struggles. Oh, this is how this fit in here. And as I was, that couple I was talking about who the husband had an affair, was like, oh, now I understand. I can talk about this because she now knows, oh, yes, I know what you're going through. And that was the first thing you've gone through this, she's looking at what we have now, not realizing, oh, wait, oh, you've already gone through this. So yeah, it all fits. You just need to just know that your purpose is not to kill you. It's really to prepare you.
Exactly, including your purpose of relationship as well as health and wealth and so on and so forth. Yeah,
Mhm.
love that.
Mhm.
So out of all of this, Angie, this is like perfect, right? Because you ended up creating a course, Reignite Passion. Tell us a little bit about that. And just for the listening audience, it, all of Angela's information will be in the show notes, including, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. She has a gift for you. But tell us a little bit about Reignite Passion.
Oh, we're so excited about it because, we've done one-to-one coaching for so many years. And it's like, it hurts when people call and say, do you have any more space? Right now I have 3 people on a wait list, and I just feel horrible when you say, but their marriages are struggling and they're going to continue to struggle. And if they survive that long. So we're so excited that we get to actually do this together as a group and with like-minded people who are all wanting the same thing. We just want to reignite passion and have unity in our relationships. That's all we ever got married for, right?
Exactly.
So to be able to walk people through those steps is just going to be awesome. And the beautiful thing is they don't have to do it alone. We're going to be right there. We're going to have them, that's the difference in counseling versus coaching. We get to actually lock arms with them, hold them accountable, give them the tools, and watch them just flourish in their relationship. So, oh man, it's going to be so awesome, and we just cannot wait.
Can't wait. Yeah, yeah.
We're just totally, just really so excited to see how God is going to transform people's lives.
Love it. Love it. So speaking of which, you have a gift for the listening audience. Tell us a little about that, if you would.
Yes, well, we have I have 2 new books that I just released, and the one is the 25 date night is no cost dating. I would love to offer that, and then we also have another a workbook that is just going to walk people through all the questions that to give them some talking points. So, it's funny because people after you've been married for 25, 10, even 10 years, people think, oh, we know what to talk about. And then when they have these talking points, they realize, wow, we haven't talked about that. We just assume that we each other know these things, and people's feelings change, their thoughts change, we grow, we change, we evolve. And so the workbook is just great for just igniting the passion that evening. You're going to start having these conversations with each other and realize, wow, we have grown apart in some areas, but here's what we can do to get better. So yeah, we're going to offer that as well.
It stirs a question within me that I'm really inclined to ask. So, what's the secret to keeping the relationship going?
Always make sure you ask this question. How are we doing? A lot of people are afraid to ask that question because like, I'm not going to ask that question. That's a loaded question. But if you really stop and say, how are we doing? Are we doing okay? Because it makes you think, well, what does that mean exactly? And how are we doing? Are we doing okay with each other? Are we doing okay in our relationship with God? Do we need to just take a break? Do we need to just get away and not talk about anything except for us? How are we doing? And if when people ask that question, it really, really makes them stop and evaluate. Where are they? What have they done? And where are we going? And the other thing is just making sure that you always have an attitude of forgiveness and humility, that you're not always right. Even, it's funny because you can be so like, I know I'm right on this. I'm 100%. And you could have very valid points, but it's the heart posture that matters. And so always asking for forgiveness. That's the first exercise we do with couples, is have them to turn to each other and say, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for this. And the tears instantly flow because you first now realize, oh, you actually know you hurt me that way. So yeah, without saying too much about the program, it's
It's a surprise. You gotta tune in and check out the link, the show notes link. Um, I always ask this question. I like to call them pearls of wisdom. What is the pearl that you would like to leave the listening audience with?
I think the pearl that I would love to leave the audience with is always, always rely on your faith. You always have to go back to God. We don't even coach people who don't have a faith, because it has got to be everything about what we do points us back to our creator, points us back to the purpose of marriage, and points us back to who created marriage. So just having your faith is everything. It's where you take your problems and leave them. You don't go there just to boo-hoo to God. I come out of my prayer closet knowing I have solutions. I don't know what all the answers are, but I know I left them where I'm going to get the answers. And that's where I would say the pearl of life for me is my faith.
Love it. Thank you. Angela, thank you so much for your time, certainly your wisdom, your passion. It definitely comes through. I'm so excited you and I connected, and I'm so grateful to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Angela Yousey, for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing the journey and the insights with us. Your story is a beautiful reminder that transformation begins the moment we become aware and continues with those brave, bold steps we choose to take. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
And for the listening audience, remember the bridge from ordinary to extraordinary is built with small steps of change and big leaps of faith. You are more than you know. Keep showing up, keep rising, and keep awakening your potential. And if today's episode sparked something within you, let's explore it together. I'm certain, Angela's conversation, her contact information will be in the show notes. Reach out to her. Reach out to me with the word awaken. And when you ask a question to me, you actually get me. You get nobody else answering them for you. So, for me, I should say. So, till then, make it an amazing day. And thanks for tuning in. Sharing is caring. Share it with somebody who needs to hear this today, who would benefit from hearing it today. Till then, make it an amazing day. Bye for now.